Built for builders, from beginners to pros, this is where great backyards begin. Welcome to the Ultimate Deck Podcast, your source for backyard building tips, product breakdowns, and pro advice from the front lines of the industry. Here are your hosts, Shane Chapman and Wade Laurent.
Welcome back, everybody. Step on up to this episode of the Ultimate Deck Podcast with Wade and Shane. Stair episode.
It seems to be one of the most challenging things for homeowners.
There is no doubt that the stairs are the most complicated part of building a deck. A lot of homeowners or DIYers can figure out the rest of it, but when it comes to cutting a set of stair stringers,
I feel like if you polled 100 people and just asked them what their concerns around the deck
Any 100 homeowners.
Yep. And it was like, you can build a deck. What are the 2 things that are holding you back? Or what are the 5 things that are holding you back from doing it yourself? I'll bet you beam and post spacing would be right up there at the very top. They don't know where to put the beam, and they don't know where the supports for those beams should go.
Yep.
And then second would be, I don't have any idea where to even begin with the stairs.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that there's lots of people that come into our stores that have done the whole deck or are planning to do the whole deck, and the stairs are the part that there's I don't know. Because
guess I'll get the steel stringers.
Here's the thing with the posts and beams, they may not know what it's supposed to be, but they'll just decide, they'll just make up on their own what they think should work. But the problem with the stairs is that they have no idea how to even fake it. So they'll just buy pre-cut stringers.
Yeah.
That's what happened there.
Yep.
So what we're talking about today is stair safety essentially. So, focusing on kind of what the requirements are around the rise and the run and those kinds of things on the steps.
Important things to think about.
Yeah. And then also
you could argue it's one of the most dangerous places on your whole deck.
Yeah, it's hard to do much damage to yourself walking around on the main part of it.
So I always tell people, it's like when we sell picture frame boards, I don't, it's okay that the middle board is a little bit slippery. You only really need the traction on the edges.
Yeah.
So here we go. The most dangerous part of your deck. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So the rise and run situation here, we're not going to tell you how to cut a stringer. That'd be hard to explain with words over a podcast. Go look at a YouTube video. There's lots of good ones out there.
Yeah.
But there are rules around how high each step can be and also how deep each tread can be.
Yes.
So the rise being the vertical step up of each step and the tread being the part you step on. And believe it or not, there's rules around that. So if you go buy pre-cut stringers, they generally come 7.5 inch rise and a 10 to 10.5 inch run.
Yep.
And that's just pretty standard. It may not be exactly what you need. It's probably not going to be exactly what you need. The run might be okay, but the rise is rarely okay.
Yeah, and so the way that's going to finish on the deck is that you're either going to have a slightly larger or slightly smaller rise at the bottom, at the ground.
Yep.
And so for stairs to meet code, each rise is to be equal.
Yes.
And so as soon as you cut that bottom one off or you add a couple blocks on the bottom, so your rise isn't the same, the very last one, then you've no longer met code.
Yeah.
But
so
super common.
This is another thing where you need to refer to your local building codes to find out what numbers they're working with, because there isn't a consistent answer that applies to everywhere on these numbers.
Yeah.
Partially because there's 68,000 different, that's probably on the low end,
opinions,
counties, municipalities, cities, whatever, that all have their own local building codes that probably adopted a parent code from somewhere, but may have modified things to it, which is pretty common. So a lot of them are going to pull from the DCA 6 from the American Wood Council. A lot of them are going to use the International Residential Code, and Canada might be using the Canadian Wood Council. There's just different organizations and that come up with prescriptive
rules,
best case rules and whatever is to follow. And so the general rule, though, on all of them is that the rise has a variance that it can be. So on the low end, sometimes it's as low as 4 inches, sometimes as low as 5 inches, 4 to 5 inches on the minimum rise.
Yep.
Check your local place. I think that is in the DCA 6 is 4 inch minimum, and I believe in the Canadian Wood Council is 5 inch minimum.
Yes.
And then on the high, the maximum rise you could be, I believe in DCA 6 is 7 3/4, and in Canadian Wood Council, I think, is 7 7/8. So pretty, not more than 8 inches on those is pretty safe.
Yeah, I was going to say 8 is the Canadian one's 8.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's just under actually.
And you can't have a variance from one step to the next of 3/8. And I think that's pretty consistent, but nor should you. Like if you're cutting your stringers, if you can't be within 3/8.
Tricky to walk up them when they get changed like that.
Right. And then as far as the run depth goes, now this one always seems a little bit silly to me, but you have to have, this one makes sense. You have to have a minimum run depth of 10 inches typically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that makes perfect sense. Anything narrower is pretty tough to fit a full size shoe on.
Not going up. Going up,
down.
super easy. Yeah. Going down,
yeah.
Very, very tricky.
Yeah, you miss one of those suckers. And typically a maximum of around 14 inches. And this is the one I have a problem with.
I don't like this one.
There's no good reason why you can't. I know there's reasons, but I feel like there's no good reason why you can't have that. And I get it's like, oh, with a standard person's gait and their walk means that they take a step. I get it.
Yeah, but it's like, but we make all kinds of accommodations for not standard people.
Right.
Right. You can make it make sense. It make sense. And so do you want to have the tread 17 inches deep? It's like, okay.
I just wish they put some
then
common sense in there.
You have to have a 4-inch rise.
Yeah. I wish they put some common sense in there where it was like, well, I want a little bit wider of a step. And it's like, okay, then just use 3 boards wide, which should be fine.
Yes.
But then that puts you at like a 17-inch step.
Yeah.
Like 16 and a half plus spacing. So close to a 17-inch step.
Yep.
And you're technically not allowed to do that. You got to rip a board in half to be able to get down to the 14. And it's like, I'm
going to tell you something.
Who are we hurting here?
I've built them 3 boards wide. I sped the whole way over there too.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Pay attention to what your rise is if you're going to extend the tread out, right? So what you don't want to do is build a tread that's 17 inches deep and then have a 7.5-inch rise. That is a really hard set of stairs to walk up. Make that rise 5 inches. Make it 4.5 inches because then you can actually make that step work, right?
Right.
There must be a calculation on that and figuring out what the ratio is. But and in my head, that's just sort of always what I did. If somebody wanted to go 3 boards wide, then I was like, well, your rise is now 5-ish inches, and we'll work from there.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is to make sure you stay within those numbers if you're going, like if it's going to be inspected, and you need to find out from your local building department which guide they're following and what numbers they give you. It'll be in there. Like they'll have these numbers for you. You don't have to guess, is it 4 or 5? Like, well, get a hold of your local building permit application or building department, and they'll tell you.
Call Fred.
Minimum here is 4 3/4 inches or something, right?
Yeah. And the other part is that you don't want to be cutting way into the 2x12 to do this, right? So you start making too big a cut, and then now all of a sudden you don't have enough material left in the throat of that cut. And now
and so
stringers are weakened.
For that reason, I can understand. Maybe that's like, for that reason, I can understand why you'd have a maximum depth of run.
Yeah.
Because you go any more than 14 and you're not going to have enough throat left in the 2x12. But it's like, you should still be able to do it and build it differently. Like add extra strength to it, use steel, build a box step, whatever it is. I don't know if that's the reason why they do that, but regardless.
Seems plausible.
Then there's the issue of, okay, well, where, like, do I need to have railing on my stairs? And the answer is, like everything else, is it depends. So if your deck is lower, commonly lower than, here it's lower than 24 inches. You don't have to have rail if it's lower. In some guides, it's 30 inches. Some other places go by the number of rises. If there's 3 rises or less, you don't need it. If there's more than that, you do need it. So you just need to refer, but there's, at some point, if your deck's much more than 2.5 feet, you're almost guaranteed to need it.
Yeah.
If it's a commercial job, you probably need it for sure. And then in addition to that, you need graspable handrail, potentially depending on the market again. These are all of like,
continuous. So continuous is a word you will see all the time. And there's a lot of railing systems that do not actually have continuous rail because the post is proud of the rail.
Yeah.
And then that can be, sort of the workaround on that is that you can fasten an ADA rail to the inside of it, and then you can argue that is your continuous rail. So your railing can continue to look the same on the rest of your deck. But you can have
because some rails, the top rail of that system, particularly on aluminum systems, because they generally tend to be smaller in the first place.
Yeah.
It may meet the requirements of a graspable handrail.
Yeah.
Just by its dimension or shape. But if it stops and starts with a inline post on the way down the stairs, that's technically violating the ADA handrail rules.
Because then you would have to let go of the rail to go around, and then it's no longer safe. Yeah, it can't be wider than 2.25 inches.
Yeah.
And
so there's some things to pay attention to. I find that one is pretty, even in our markets, it's different. It's pretty loosely followed.
It's pretty relaxed here.
There's not many truly graspable handrails in this market, and nor are our local building departments require them. On commercial, yes, but not on residential.
They're certainly not looking for it. And I think that's okay. I think if anybody was going to invest any energy into making sure their railing was better, I would say put your energy into making sure the blocking underneath is better.
Yeah.
Because when you fasten railing to composite deck boards or to a stringer, it's like you don't have it in there very solid. And I always felt like the most dangerous thing was a poorly installed handrail.
Yeah.
Because then you believe it's going to work and it fails, right? You're better to have no handrail than to have a bad one.
It's pretty common. Maybe it's less common nowadays, but it certainly used to be very common to put especially with wood decks, to put a deck board on top, like a drink rail on top of your railing, even down the stairs. So you had this like 1 inch thick by 5.5 inch wide board, and that was your handrail on the way down, and nobody cared.
Yeah.
Nor did anybody die.
It was illegal.
So I also think like at some point, I'm going to start sounding like the
conspiracy theorists.
No, what are the guys? Libertarians.
Oh yeah.
That want like zero government interference. I'm going to start sounding like those guys pretty quick. But it's like, if this is your deck in your backyard and your deck is 3 feet off the ground, you have a small set of steps there, like, and you're okay with just having a flat cap on the top of your deck rail, like, who are we hurting here? Like, it's like, but what about people that come over? It's like, yeah, but what if somebody in a wheelchair comes over? You're not required to put a ramp on because somebody might come over. So why are you required to put a graspable handrail in case somebody who might need it? You know what I mean? Like, build it for your own use.
I agree. I totally agree.
I'm not 100% committed to that argument, but like, at some point we need to be like, it doesn't need to be for everybody.
So I think that this all changed, and I don't know when it was, but I do believe it changed when people started to want someone to be accountable. They wanted to blame someone. It's like, I got injured because I didn't know better. So I built this deck that had a 5.5 inch thing across the top. Nobody told me I couldn't do that. I thought it looked great. And then I slipped and fell and I hurt myself, and somebody should have told me. And it's like, yeah, or you slipped and fell.
Yeah. Yeah.
How come? And it's this like deferral of responsibility or accountability. It's like you should, like, you were the first one who you fell.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I agree with you. I think if it kind of happens in your own property, you should be allowed to. I think there should be a lot of rules around commercial property. And I think there should be
that makes sense.
There should be some guidelines around handrails. Do I think you should have a handrail when your deck's 6 feet in the air? Yeah.
Yeah.
And how high should it be? That should be 42 inches. Most people are 6 feet tall or whatever, right? And it's like, let's get that. We got to get past the center of gravity.
Yeah.
But if you want it to be a little bit different, if you want the spaces to be 5 inches in between instead of 4, it's like, well, that's okay. But anyways.
Yeah. So that's that. The handrails, people are usually using like pre-built system these days, like aluminum systems, and they're like, you're just putting it together how it was made, and it's of course following the rules. But if you were to do your own custom handrail, those handrails down the stairs do need to be minimum of 34 inches from the nosing of the stairs and maximum of 38. So it needs to be in that kind of like.
When did that? That's different.
I'm pulling that from the DC. I believe that's from the DCA 6.
So in Canada, when I did railing, it was 32 to 36.
And it may be that in Canada. This like DCA would be from in America.
Yep.
So if that number's wrong too,
are they taller there?
In America?
Yeah.
I don't think they're taller, no.
Yeah, but that's what that would be for, right? It's like 34. I always thought that 34 was a really good number. I preferred putting it at that on the stairs.
Yeah. So again, that's another one where you have to refer to your local places, because as we're discussing right now, it can be different.
Absolutely.
From one place to the next.
Yeah.
So anyways, there's a good reason why stair rules exist. It's to make sure that they're safe to traverse up and down. And if you ever go up a set of stairs that has like a suddenly one step that's a different rise, like, so this happens quite a bit on people who do just go with pre-built stair stringers, is that they rarely actually fit the height of the deck you're putting them on.
Yeah.
So people either usually put them like on the ground and then where they land at the deck is where they land.
Yeah. It's on a bad angle.
So you got
It's
7.5,
like sloped.
7.5, 7.5, and then the top one is 4 inches or something.
Oh yeah, sure.
And often the bottom one is not right either. Or they make sure it's a proper step down at the top of the deck, and then they just put blocks underneath at the bottom. So all of a sudden the first step up is 9 inches.
Yep.
Then you're 7.5, 7.5, 7.5. That top one is especially tricky. The top one's a real doozy when you're going up a set of steps, and then that last one is like different than the others.
I think if you're going to make an accommodation for that riser to be different, I would do it at the very bottom one.
100%. Yeah.
And the top one should be the same as all your other ones.
Yeah.
So
I've actually got my in-laws place. It's a farm. It's a 100-some-year-old house, and they built this addition years ago. And the addition's just like a little foyer area, but that's where the stairs to the basement go. And the stairs at some, like the 4-step down or something, are concrete from an old what do you call it?
Cellar.
Kind of cellar stairs down into the basement. And then they added like wood steps the rest of the way. They're all finished with, like, you don't know other than the sound of walking on them,
And the rise.
and the rise is the same, but there's one step that the tread is probably like at least a good 1.5 to 2 inches deeper than the rest.
Oh yeah.
My father-in-law explained it to my dad one time when he was there. I can't remember what it was. He's like, that section of stairs is removable to get into the crawl space underneath the whatever. So I don't know. So I don't know why that meant it had to be different tread depth. My point is, I notice it every time I go up the stairs that it's different, and it could certainly trick a person if they didn't know.
Totally.
Just because it's not what you're expecting. Your feet start to get used to that depth where it's supposed to step, and all of a sudden that one step is 2 inches further away than where you expect it to be.
Yeah.
You catch out with your toes instead of your whole foot.
Yeah.
Like, that's an issue.
And then you spill the pie, and then you're in big trouble.
And then you're in big trouble. So that's why the rules exist. They are there for your safety and for everybody who's using those set of steps.
Yeah.
So try to abide by it. Check through the local building codes. Until next week.